Hello, in this video I'm going to talk about negative thoughts and ways that you can help yourself regarding negative thoughts. My name is Vanessa, I'm a healer, a light worker, and I'm here to help you. The Buddha would say that there is no such thing as negative thoughts, that thoughts are just thoughts, and it is the meaning that you give to the thought which makes it good or bad. And I do happen to share this belief, but for the purpose of this video, and especially wanting to help you, where I understand that most people do think that there are a difference between positive and negative thoughts. So for the sake of this video, I am going to talk about negative thoughts in this way. So when we have a couple different types of thoughts, we have thoughts that we actively create in our mind, such as when we are planning or when we choose to engage in a daydream of some kind. Those are conscious thoughts that we are creating. And then we have thoughts that kind of just nagging thoughts that just pop into your head all day long that you aren't consciously thinking about. And then we have intrusive thoughts, which are thoughts that kind of slap us in the face, that can be really, really negative and violent, especially if you have PTSD, this can happen, but it happens to us all. It happens to me. So these are the different types of thoughts that we have. And the important thing to remember about thoughts is that we can actually challenge our thoughts. Everything that you think isn't true, and everything that you feel isn't true. And in fact, we cannot just trust our thoughts and emotions. We have to challenge them and figure out if these thoughts are true or helpful or serving us. So when we have a thought, and I'm not talking about, so we'll separate conscious thoughts because those are thoughts that we are purposely making. So I'm talking about thoughts that are intrusive or those nagging thoughts. So say you're laying in bed, someone was speaking to me about this and used an example. So I'll use this example. And she said that she was laying in bed trying to sleep and things kept popping in her head, like she was all of a sudden worried about being lost in the airport during her vacation that she was going to be going on. And so what's happening is two things here, is when you have this thought, you are engaging with it. So you are having the thought, okay, I'm going to be lost in the airport. So then instead of challenging that thought, you are identifying with it. You are saying, oh yes, maybe I could be lost in the airport, and then this might happen. So then you are engaging with this thought. So that is going to feed the thought and feed the emotion, and it's almost like an avalanche. Once you start doing that and you start engaging with that thought, the avalanche comes down and it gets bigger, 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 more powerful. That's how panic attacks happen also. So what we want to do is the opposite of that. When we have a thought that comes up, I'm going to be lost in the airport, you challenge it and you don't engage with it. And you say, wow, that's a thought that I'm having. And then you don't engage with it. You understand and you have awareness that you're not in the airport right now. You are at home or wherever you are when you're having the thought, and you don't engage with it. So you challenge it by saying, I am not in the airport right now. And you don't continue engaging in it by letting it be truth to you. Because what happens with, like I said, you're attaching to that thought as a possible truth. We don't have to do that. So we can detach ourselves from thoughts in a couple of ways. So one, we can detach our thoughts by not engaging with the thought, by challenging the thought, and also by understanding that those thoughts that we don't consciously create are often not even ours. We have a collective energy, and we are also we are receiving energy from the collective. Thoughts are energy. So when you receive a thought like that, and it isn't a conscious thought, you can separate yourself from it and realize that you are the observer of the thought. You didn't create the thought, right? So it isn't you. You are the observer of that thought. And this goes for intrusive thoughts as well. So when this happens, the intrusive thought comes in, the thing that you don't want to do is, again, identify with it and attach yourself to it, because often the ego is sending us these intrusive thoughts, or those brain-poking thoughts, I call them, because the ego is trying to protect us. So one thing that you can do is gently tell this ego, and this is what I did at the very beginning when I started working with my ego and releasing attachment from my thoughts and emotions, and questioning and challenging my thoughts and emotions. I said to myself, listen, ego, thank you for trying to protect me. I do not need you to do that. I am asking you to stop. And you might say, oh my gosh, no, but this actually works. Your brain is, you are the controller of your brain. You might have to do this quite a few times, but you're going to keep telling the ego, listen, I don't need you to protect me. Because what happens is when the ego sends you those thoughts, especially if it's something that has already happened, it's a memory of something that's bad that's happened, your ego is saying, I don't want this to happen. Let's make sure this doesn't happen. How can we stop this from happening? But oftentimes when that happens, maybe you're having a memory of something that happened a long time ago. You are nowhere near that memory. Maybe that memory took place years ago, and there is nothing that you can do in this moment to protect yourself or change what happened. So we need to keep letting our ego know, thank you, but no, thank you. And we want to work with our ego. We want to learn to work with that voice in our head. I've heard people say, kill the ego. We don't want to do that. And the ego is very beneficial to us in a lot of ways. So we want to work with the ego and quiet the ego. So we're going to tell the ego, we're all set. We don't need you to protect us. And when these thoughts do come up, we want to detach from them. We want to understand that they are intrusive. They are an energy, and that it will pass. And the more that we resist it, okay, so I hear this example a lot. If I tell you, don't think about a pink monkey, don't think about a pink monkey, don't do it. You're thinking about a pink monkey. And the same is going to be for you. If you get this thought and you're like, oh, no, I don't want this thought, stop it, stop thinking about it. And you're telling yourself to stop thinking about it. Well, you're resisting it, and what resists persists. So just acknowledge it. Don't judge it. Don't make it mean anything. Don't mean that you have problems, or you are whatever you could make it mean. Don't make it mean anything. Don't engage with it, and detach from it. Understand that it is an energy, that is a thought, that is an energy, and the more that you detach from it, you don't engage with it, and you don't resist it. So for example, a lot of times I will get like a really intrusive thought, and I'm very visual, so oftentimes they come with like a visual, it's like a picture, right? And I just say, oh, and I don't engage with it. I don't say, oh, well, that's terrible. I wonder where that came from. And I shouldn't be, I'm a healer. I shouldn't be having, violent thoughts. No. I just say, huh. And sometimes I'm a humorous person. So sometimes I'll just be like, oh, hello, thought. But I don't let it mean anything. I try to, sometimes I try to insert my own twisted humor into it, but I don't ever allow it to mean anything. I don't judge it. I just simply observe it. Oh, hello, hi, how are you, thought? And I don't, I don't do any more than that. And what happens when you do that is it just goes away. If you don't feed into it, if you don't push it away and resist it, or you don't say, oh, maybe I have a problem if I just had this thought and that was a pretty violent, where did that, and you just start, engaging with it, that is going to prolong the energy and the thought and the images to stay with you. So you want to separate yourself from it, understand that it is not you, so you don't have to do any of that banter, right? You don't have to be concerned about your mental health or anything like that. Understand that it is a normal occurrence for humans to have intrusive thoughts, and even violent intrusive thoughts. And so you are going to just let it go. So when I early on in my meditation practices, I learned about thoughts too. When you have a thought, when you're trying to meditate, you're trying to focus on your breath, to just observe it as if it were a cloud floating by. Hello, bye. So this is what you want to do. You want to just observe it, acknowledge that it's there, and just let it go. And you're not going to push it away, like I said, but you're just going to not be bothered by it. It's just a thought energy. It is going to leave you, and the sooner you just don't identify it and start that conversation with it, then the faster it's going to go. So yes, thoughts are often, the more that you can quiet these thoughts, the more that you can quiet the ego and train the ego, it is like a muscle, the more peace that you will have. I know for myself that personally, that voice, that ego in my head was constant. It was blah, 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 blah. It's like, shut up. So I trained it to be quiet, and I did that by constantly bringing myself into the present moment and doing like I said. When thoughts came up, I didn't engage with them. I didn't worry about them. I just acknowledged them. Oh, there's that thought, and I let it float on by. So you want to practice this. Meditation is something I encourage you to do. I encourage everyone to do. It's beneficial to all. Go into nature is another wonderful, wonderful way to learn how to quiet the ego, quiet your mind, be in the quiet of nature by yourself. It's very peaceful. Don't be on your phone, scrolling on social media in there. That would defeat the purpose. So just go into nature and, just spend some time in the quiet, in the silence, and start to learn baby steps, one step at a time, to learn to observe, be the observer of your thoughts. And it is a wonderful practice for us to start to question our thoughts and to not just believe any thought that pops into our head, or any emotion for that matter. So I love you so much. I hope this was helpful to you. If you haven't done so already, please hit the subscribe button and the bell, and I will connect with you soon. Thank you.